Hey guys, it's me.
Face bones!
And they're finally back. Dethklok is a band that should require no introduction, but let's take a second to reacquaint ourselves with its members.
Squishgar Squiggle, taller than a tree. Toki Wartooth, not a bumblebee. William Murderface, Murderface, Murderface. Pickles, the drummer. Doodly-doo, ding-dong, doodly-doodly-doo. Nathan Explosion.
And now, with the release of the new Metalocalypse film and Dethalbum IV, it's high time to rank the discography. Let's start with Dethalbum I in 2007. Now, I feel like at this point early on, I mainly bought this album because I loved the show so much, and it still felt like more of a novelty at the time. But goddamn is this album better than it has any right to be. Of course, it doesn't hurt to have Gene Hoglan on drums, and in case you didn't know, in addition to being a creator, writer, voice actor, and animator, Brendan Small is also a Juilliard-trained musician, kicking that perfect balance of heaviness and humor right off the top with Mermaider, also from one of my favorite episodes.
What does this lights mean?
He will die without safety brief.
Hey, I'll take it from here, okay, buddy?
I'm also partial to Awaken, Birthday, Death Day, and Bloodtricuted for the same reasons, and I love the almost Archspire-like vocals on the latter. But the crown jewels here, in my opinion, are the always hype as fuck and mostly instrumental Thunder Horse, which was also the perfect pick for a Guitar Hero track, and then the symphonic death metal atmosphere of Death Harmonic. Impressively, that entire seeming orchestra of violins is all courtesy of Emily Autumn. I still have a soft spot for this one, but I'll admit at 16 tracks, even without the bonus disc, it can feel a little bit bloated at times. There aren't really any bad songs, but it could be a tighter experience overall, if I'm nitpicking. So I'm putting this one at fantastic.
I approve.
By the way, be sure to share your own rankings, favorite songs, and favorite quotes or episodes in the comments as we go along. But next up, we have Dethalbum II in 2009. Now, this one I bought knowing the music was the real deal. In fact, at this point, I'd seen them on tour with Mastodon, High on Fire, and Converge, and it was a sick show. Notably, they are also joined this time by Brian Beller, who has worked with everyone from Steve Vai to James Labria. Bloodlines is not only one of their best tracks, but honestly, another one of my favorite metal album openers, period. Gene is just killing it on the drums, and I love the little harpsichord break going into the massive conclusion. So many killer riffs on this album.
We can't not play it fast, physically.
Yeah, it's hard.
The Gears is a neck-breaking groove machine, killer atmosphere with those massive harmonized leads on Blackfire Upon Us. Personal favorites here include Burn the Earth, Comet Song, Volcano, and Laser Cannon Death Sentence. Also, the hilariously overtitled I Tamper with the Evidence at the Murder Site of Odin. This thing is just wall-to-wall hooks and packed with incredible and actually memorable solos. Definitely a tighter and more standard death metal format here with just 12 songs, though due to their longer compositions, the runtime ends up being about the same. I think this one feels a bit more mature from a songwriting standpoint and sheds any semblance of what could be called gimmicky. No filler, all killer. It hit number 15 on Billboard. I'm putting this one at perfection.
They're right. It's an amazing album.
Then we got Dethalbum III in 2012. Now, I'll admit, but by the time this album came out, I was very much in a different place in my life, so that may have contributed to my feelings about it overall. I was a few years out of college, had moved out of state for the first time for my first big job, actually starting the one I just got pushed out of this year, and was now sharing an apartment with my lovely lady and our first daughter. No more keg parties, no more late nights playing Halo and watching Adult Swim, and honestly, I wasn't really listening to a lot of new metal either.
I spent all my beer money on little kids' clothes. That's brutal.
All that said, this is a stellar album on revisit. Fun opener with I Ejaculate Fire once again setting the tone, and then followed up by another banger with the epic wailing guitars of Crush the Industry. It's really a solid block of hits going into Andromeda, and then another more atmospheric personal favorite in The Galaxy. It stalls out a little bit for Starved and Kilstardo Abominate, but then rallies quick with two more back-to-back favorites in Ghost Queen and Impeach God, the latter of which's title is simultaneously the heaviest and funniest combination of two words I've ever heard. Sky Hunter has a great hook, too. Another tight 12 tracks, clocking in at about 52 minutes. I also think that Brendan had really improved on the presence of his death vocals by this point. Number 10 on Billboard, but for me it feels like it's lacking a similar sense of spirit, which again may have to do with the different kind of memories I have associated it. Musically, it's still very solid. I'm gonna put this one at great tier.
I hate you, and I think you should die. You are an idiot, and I hate your voice. There's no room on this paper to properly describe how much I hate you. Go die. There, is that good?
Then let's throw in the Doomstar Requiem, a clock opera soundtrack in 2013.
Do you feel this electricity?
So this album isn't officially part of the Dethklok discography and is instead attributed more directly to Brendan. But hey, we only have 4 albums, so I figured we'd throw it in. Same lineup, but also with their live guitar player Mike Keneally providing additional vocals. And also a laundry list of guests here, including Jack Black, Mark Hamill, and Malcolm McDowell. Bear McCreary leading a 50-piece orchestra for this. And as per its name, it's more of a rock opera in contrast to the pure death metal of the other albums. It's a fun accompaniment to the series, but feels a little bit more like an amusement thing than something I'd like to revisit and listen to more than once or twice. I'm just putting this one at okay tier.
Just throw some rotting meat on it and pour some pig's blood on it or whatever, you know. It'll be bearable, I guess.
But then, decades later, the boys are back with Dethalbum IV in 2023. Now, unfortunately, my first reaction to Aortic Desecration was admittedly mixed. Brendan/Nathan's vocals have changed a bit since we last heard them, moving from that deep Archspire-esque grunt to a raspier snarl. I'm not sure if it's just age or a stylistic choice, but this seemingly slight shift, along with some different production choices, does a lot to change the vibe from the previous albums. I did ultimately get used to it, though, after a while.
Explosion sauce. It's good on its own.
But really, it's not just the vocals. The big wailing harmonies and Gene's great drumming are still all there, but something just feels a little bit off, especially on slower fare like Deadface and Poisoned by Food. These aren't bad, just a little unexpected, which I suppose is actually to be expected from a band after being gone for 10 years, so on some level, I hate that I'm criticizing them for that.
You bastard. Why you makes me do this?
Also, Dethklokisms aside, credit to Deadface for its pretty profound sense of gravitas in spite of its silly name. As for what I like though, Gardener of Vengeance makes for a solid enough opener even if it's no Bloodlines or Mermaider. And even though I tend to dislike bands making late sequels to their classic songs, I actually really enjoy Mermaider 3. More great soloing on Horse of Fire, Satellite Bleeding has some interesting Opeth vibes. Bloodbath is great with those big soaring riffs and classic Squizgar sweeps.
Pretty clean sounding, hey? But some people comes up to me and says, "Hey, Squisco, I'm pretty good at sweep up as you." But the truth is, no, you're not. You're a liar. Go homes. Takes a shower.
It even ends on a particularly dramatic note with a choir, bells, and synth. More of that on SOS as well. But I think that the real standout for me is Mutilation on a Saturday Night. Here's the sense of fun and energy I'm looking for with those dueling guitar leads. Gene in particular really getting me banging my head to those shifting rhythms and punky D-beats. Pickle's gonna mess you up with this one. So ultimately, I'm really torn with this one because they're doing some really cool new things, which is normally something I love, but it doesn't end up feeling as Dethklok, if that makes sense. Like that same sense of levity just isn't there, which I suppose may be fitting to where the narrative is at, but maybe I just unfairly wanted to be transported back to those carefree college years, laughing and listening from my first campus apartment after a night of partying.
We're all gonna die. No matter what you do, no matter what you do with your life, you're dead. You're dead. You die. You're gonna die, all of you.
So after many listens over the past 2 or so weeks, I'll say that while I think it's a solid album that this longtime fan from the very first airing of episode 1 is happy to have, I think that considered within the scope of their entire catalog, it belongs at good tier.
Oh, that's brutal.
That said, I could see its unique flavor growing on me with time. As the newbie, it's certainly at a disadvantage by default. Y'all check out this playlist for more death metal rankings, and again, let me know down in the comments what are your favorite Dethklok songs, episodes, albums, how would you rank them, so on. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.